Good evening. Welcome everybody to the Craig City Council meeting, January 9th, 2024, first meeting of the year. Everybody please stand for a pledge of allegiance. Mr. Jackson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Liz, roll call, please.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
He is absent. Okay, and I'm here. On Councilman Tucker, he did inform me he has a family commitment out of town. Called me a couple of days ago, so I will take a motion for either excused or unexcused.
Make a motion to excuse Councilman Tucker.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passed to excuse. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item, number one, consent agenda. Approval of the minutes from December 12th, 2023 council meeting. Approval of the bills through December 31st, 2023 in the amount of, it's not on my original, $1,526,339.37, and bills through January 5th, 2024 in the amount of $173,757.81.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Councilman Duran made a motion to approve, second by Councilman Jackson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consent agenda passed. The agenda, approval of the agenda for January 9th, 2023 council meeting.
And make a motion to approve the agenda for the January 9th, 2023 council meeting.
Second.
Councilmember Looper made a motion to approve the agenda, second by Councilman James. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, agenda is as presented. Approval of the minutes from December 12th, 2023 council minutes. No, I already did that. What am I doing? Duh. Sorry about that, folks. We're up to you. Presentations, none. So, Peter, up to you pretty quick.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'm going to try and keep this abbreviated. I know we got a pretty good list of things we've talked about earlier. I did want to mention on the housing project on 8th Street, I didn't have a chance to do that in the last meeting. The trusses are on site, just been delivered, so we finally have some wood on the site. We've got all the foundations in place, and the grading is in pretty good shape, and we installed the sewer main extensions. So ProSet has hired a local contractor to start the roof construction, and that commences on the 15th of January. Our contractor for the modular homes, Fading West, is scheduled to start building the 20 units, which is 40 boxes that have to be craned into place. That'll start on January 22nd. Is scheduled to have all the boxes completed by March 11th. And the scheduled date of assembly, where they have a crane operator in town here, so the 40 boxes will be delivered to our staging site. I don't know if you've seen that site out there at First and Rennie on the northeast corner. We have that all fenced off now. Anyway, that's ProSet would start setting those boxes the week of March 18th is what the intended date is at this point. So that's a brief schedule of the construction of the rooftops and the receipt of the units. I don't know if you understand the process. The roofs will be placed on top of the foundations to keep the crawl spaces dry. Once the boxes are here and they start craning those into place, the roofs will be lifted off and set on top of the assembled boxes and stitched together for the final assembly. Okay, February 7th, Mayor is going to be delivering the State of the City address at the Moffett County Pavilion. If you haven't got that on your calendar, that starts at 5:30 to 8 o'clock. I think they, as is typical, they probably have several presenters from the school, hospital, and county. And I'm not sure if they have a guest speaker slated yet at this point or not.
We're still trying to find one.
Okay. In my report, I talked about fuel hedging. We had discontinued hedging. There was a change in ownership of the company that was delivering fuel to us. And they wouldn't agree to some liability issues. They wanted to deliver fuel on site without having an appropriate coverages for that. And so far, fuel prices, gas prices are about $1.91, I think, is the last invoice that we had, and diesel prices are considerably lower than we've seen for the past year and a half. I think diesel was around $2.80 was the price that we've been paying for those. And of course, the milder winter, we haven't incurred nearly the fuel consumption that we've seen in the past. So when Shane does his report next time, we'll have a report on what some of the expenses for winter maintenance is looking like. Melanie also wanted me to mention that the groundbreaking has occurred for the boat ramp and the diversion site for the Whitewater Park. If you've been out there, we have signs up, sign at the main diversion site for EDA, which is funding $3.3 million for the project. And then the other site, the boat ramp, is through the lock gates at Lowdy Simpson, probably about a quarter mile down the road or something like that. And they've already built the road out to the river, made the cut through the riverbank. If you have a chance, if you're walking out there, you can walk near the site and see what's going on out there. So that's in progress. Hope to have a groundbreaking ceremony scheduled at a better time when it's not so mucky out there. And of course, it's freezing up now, so it's not quite as bad. But we're looking at we're working with one of our contributors to the project to schedule a groundbreaking ceremony sometime late spring, probably late spring is the target date. Beyond that, I think we covered quite a few things tonight already. If you have any questions, I'll entertain those.
Peter, on the river projects, Riverwise is the engineer, correct?
That's right.
Are they providing are they on site?
They are on site some of the time. We have negotiated with SGM, who's closer, to provide more routine oversight. So SGM has a kind of a project site, kind of like an owner's rep approach, and that person will be here nearly full time for a while. So, yeah.
Any other questions, Peter? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 5, council reports. We'll start with Mr. Butler.
I don't have anything this week.
Okay, Mr. Duran.
You know, I don't have much either. I took some time off over the holidays. We did have an airport meeting last night, but we were doing interviews, so I should be getting an update from Candace Miller on that. And then just kind of looking forward to hopefully figuring out roles and board responsibilities in the next 2 weeks so we can all get going on that.
Mr. Jackson?
Oh, yep. I don't have anything either. I'm good.
Boy, this is going quick tonight. Mr. Looper.
I attended the MRH meeting. Basically, out of that was that Advocates is now totally done with the hospital. They are their own 501(c), and they have totally separated as of January 1. I also attended the Airport Commission meeting, of which the main thing is just to let everyone know Yampa Airport is packed. And just they're guessing somewhere around 248,000 is what they're predicting for this year. It's just crazy. And they have bigger jets, which, as Mayor Nichols knows, has meant more firefighters have to be on site because they're bringing in 757s. I also had the chamber meeting and the LMD meeting, and that's it.
Cool. Alrighty, I guess I have a couple things, not a ton. Oh, Mr. Tucker, I'm sorry, I bypassed you. You have logged in to the meeting. Do you have a council report?
I don't have a council report today. That meeting got canceled last night, so we'll let you know about the airport at the next meeting, hopefully.
Okay, Mr. Tucker did participate in the council interviews we did hold last night, and he is logging in to cast his vote, and he's going to text it to our city clerk, Liz White, and what his vote will be once we fill that position. So, again, last night we held interviewed 6 prospective letters of interest for the vacant council position. Everybody was here but Nathan and Luke. I attended the VFW Park meeting, item on our agenda later. Randy and I both were there on item F to discuss, met with the new board of directors or board of leadership for the VFW, and they have a whole brand new group right now is trying to lead the organization again in another direction. So when item F comes up, I'll ask Councilmember Looper to give us a report of that meeting. I attended Wreaths Across America for the Craig Cemetery. You know, it's quite breathtaking when you're out there and you see all the wreaths placed on all the veterans' graves. You have the inner circle, which a lot of the veterans are buried in, and it's just a great way to honor the service that they provided to our country. So I did speak a little bit of, as the mayor, and I guess I got to get used to that for the next couple of years. But no, it was great effort out there. Did attend the Craig Moffett Tri-State Transition meeting. We've been meeting monthly, as I've reported in the past, and we did meet in December as well. Participated in 2 Zoom interviews for the attorney to represent the city of Craig, Moffett County, and the special taxing districts before the PUC. I reported last meeting that we, the county and the city, with the help of Just Transition Fund, is hiring an attorney. We hired the law firm of Casey Conlidio Consulting, and Laura Chartran of Messenger Reeves LLP. We interviewed another attorney firm. We felt that the Conlidio and Chartran law firm, which is 2 separate firms together, were more energetic. Casey had been before the Public Utility Commission. She had 3 pages of hearing processes. This would be the first coal power plant closure, though, that she is representing. So motions have been flying back and forth, and Tri-State has already have given their reply to one. We're going to be on a meeting tomorrow morning with the attorneys, and Heather, you're going to be there for a little bit as well. I'm glad, because some of that legal jargon is, needs deciphering from time to time. So, but that's why we have lawyers. So I attended the county commissioner meeting on the 28th, where presented to the county commissioners our recommendation of the two law firms, and they did enter into agreement with the Colinio and Chartran law firm agencies. So this is going to be an interesting process for the city and the county, and hopefully, we can make some progress. Attended the fire board meeting. As you know, when Proposition, what was it, HH failed, the state legislature went ahead and bypassed the voters and the vote of the people and went in and lowered everybody's property tax for 1 year. And in so doing, changed the reporting cycle for all special districts and anybody with a mill levy. So instead of being reported to the county by December 15th, we had till January 10th. And the assessor had until January 5th to get out the new valuation to all taxing districts. So we had to hold a special fire board to reassess the mill with the reduced revenues, but supposedly the state is going to backfill any emergency service agency with dollars that they lost during the property tax reduction. So, but yeah, it did have an impact on special taxing. So that's about all I have. Any other questions or comments? Not hearing any, we'll move on to item 6, public comment. The public comment time is set aside for the citizens to address City Council on matters within the jurisdiction of the city. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes to speak. Any takers? Vicky, come on up to the microphone.
This is my reserved spot, thank you.
It appears to be.
Good evening, council. First of all, I am grateful for all the people that submitted letters. I'm not sure why they didn't run for election last month, but okay. The comment that I want to make is I want to give my opinion on the VFW's request coming up this evening for an additional, for $12,000 annually. I don't understand that. I have talked to some veterans, some members of the VFW, and the $5,000 is a generous and adequate amount of money. It's never gone over that, over the $5,000. They get to keep whatever excess they have. And the city, it states clearly in the lease that if it does go over $5,000, the city will pay the difference. I think that's more than fair. The city is doing all of the maintenance and capital improvements out at the park. That's a lot of money, almost $8,000 a year just on maintenance alone. And then you've got the irrigation. It's just ongoing. I have the list here, so I can tell you exactly what it is. So I guess I'm hoping a representative from there, or Randy, if you're giving the report, somebody's going to say why they need $12,000 now. I understand that they're under new leadership, but that's irrelevant. That doesn't make the cost for the city for the leasing of the park go up any. I do know from talking to some of the veterans and members there that their membership is dwindling because a lot of the old guys are leaving the planet now. So I understand that. But they don't do bingo anymore. They don't do any fundraising things. So, and Nathan, I know you're part of the VFW. And I think anyone that actually knows me knows I love and respect and have deep gratitude for our veterans. So it's nothing against veterans. It's just, I think this is greed maybe, or some mismanagement somewhere along the lines. And I don't like it. I don't like to see our veterans portrayed in that manner. And that's how I'm seeing them. So if I'm seeing that, I can't imagine how other people are seeing it. So maybe they need to strike up the bingo again and do some other fundraising things and be grateful that the city has, gone into this lease. And also in July, I was sitting up there when the lease was renewed, and there were no objections then, but I do recall the letter later after it was renewed from Mr. Larson, I believe, and it was too late even then. That's, in my opinion, too late. So as a taxpayer, I'm saying $5,000 is very fair and definitely adequate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to approach the council? Seeing no further interest. Item 7, public hearing, none scheduled. Item 8A, discussion and possible action to select a new city council member to fill the vacant council seat. I will open the floor for council to, after our interviews last night, make a nomination, and we will take as many nominations as you want. We are now going to vote by ballot with our names on it, which will be part of the public record after we close nominations. So I will open the floor.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to nominate Andrea Camp.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to nominate Andrea Camp. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so
Aye.
Andrea is on the ballot.
I'd like to nominate Shane Hadley.
Okay, I got a motion for Shane Hadley.
Second.
Got a motion and a second for Shane Hadley. All in favor?
Aye.
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 It passes. So Andrea and Shane Hadley.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Janelle Lincecum.
Okay, a motion for Janelle Lipscomb.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, so far we have Andrea Camp, Shane Hadley, and Janelle Linscomb. Any further nominations? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to close nominations.
I make a motion to close our nominations.
Second.
Motion and a second. Favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Nominations are closed. Pull out your ballots. Vote for Andrea, Shane, or Janelle Linscomb. Okay, pass them all down. Liz, would you tally the ballots and report back? We got one more.
Two more.
Sorry. While Liz is tallying, hopefully we will not have a runoff or a draw. If we do, we'll vote again with the top two. No?
Actually, are you speaking of a tie?
What's that?
If there's a tie, then
Yeah.
Mayor, you have the selection.
Okay, if there's a tie, I have the selection. Okay. This new gig, nice to know. Thank you. I would just like, while we have the free time, I know I asked all of you to show up tonight. Thank you again. Thank you for your letter of interest and your interest in Craig City Council. And if you're not selected tonight, I hope this does not deter your interest from running in 2 years. November of '25 is our next election. So please feel free to, get a petition when, November of '25. 24, 25, 2 years. So Shannon looked at me funny, so. So anyway, pick up your petition and get it completed, and thank you. Well, again, thank you all. Andrea, will you please come forward? Now, Municipal Judge Jay Kramer will administer the oath of office to Andrea Camp.
Hello. I. You raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Andrea Camp,
I, Andrea Camp, do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
and the Craig City Charter
and the Craig City Charter
and municipal ordinances,
and municipal ordinances,
and that I will faithfully perform
and that I will faithfully perform
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of council member
of council member
for the City of Craig, Colorado,
for the City of Craig, Colorado,
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Ms. Kemp, you need to sign. Congratulations.
And again, thank you, everybody.
What was the tally? The tally. The tally.
You want to hear the tally? Of the 6 voting council members, Andrea Camp received 3 votes, Shane Hadley 2, Janelle Linscomb 1. All right, next item. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you.
And you've been here once before, and I think you'll be a great addition, and you'll be up to speed pretty quickly. So, since you've been on council and in your past involvement. So, item C, resolution number 1, 2024, a resolution designating the public place for posting public notices pursuant to CRS 24-6-4022C. The resolution, where in accordance with the state of Colorado, the city council is to publish certain legal notices of the city in a newspaper. No, that's the wrong one.
That's the wrong one.
Yeah. Well, let me get to it here. There it is. Open meeting laws consistent with House Bill 19-1087. The city hereby desires to post notice of city public meetings not only in a physical location, but also on the city's website, as the city's official online presence is the greatest extent predictable, and the notice must have specific agenda information posted no less than 24 hours prior to the meeting. Must be accessible at no charge. Therefore, be resolved by the City of Craig, Colorado, designation the City Council, City of Craig, in compliance with CRS, blah, 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 of the Open Meetings Law, hereby designates the city website at www.ci.craig.co.us as the official place for posting notices. The city may additionally post notices at the City Hall located at 300 West 4th Street and any city social media accounts. With that being said, and that resolution number 1, 2024, I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 1, 2024, a resolution designating the public place for posting notices pursuant to CRS 24-6-4022C.
Second.
Councilman Looper, seconded by Councilman James. Any further discussion? Hearing none?
Wait, one question.
Okay.
The second paragraph, it says desires to post notice of the city's public meetings not only in a physical location, but also on the website. And then you
Right.
go down to the designation.
Right.
It says may additionally post notices at City Hall.
Right, may additionally.
But we're required to post at City Hall, correct?
We're required,
But not physically either? Okay.
okay.
So just, okay,
You got,
I'm good.
you're good? In the event, if you didn't hear that, of an outage where we cannot get to the city website, we can manually post it here. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Now, let me read the one I was reading. Resolution number 2, 2024, resolution declaring the Craig Press as the official newspaper of the city of Craig. The official, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Craig, the official newspaper for the City of Craig, Colorado, is designated to be the Craig Press.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2, 2024, declaring the Craig Press the official newspaper of the city of Craig.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Duran, seconded by Councilmember Butler. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion, I don't think there was much, but anyway. All right, that passes. Now, approval of a letter of intent between the Woodbury Housing Authority, LLC, the Craig Housing Authority, and the City of Craig, which was previously signed December 13th, 2023. Peter?
Yes, I'm not sure how much we want to go over here again. We've had a pretty extensive discussion, but this is a letter of intent between the City of Craig, the Craig Housing Authority, and the Woodbury, what they call the Woodbury Housing Authority. This is a company out of Montrose, Colorado, looking to build 120 units on a roughly a 4-acre parcel that the city has available for that purpose on the southwest corner of Woodbury Park, that vacant property where we stack our snow in the wintertime. Some of the terms of the letter of intent, in terms of our responsibilities, we would be a limited partner with the Woodbury Housing Authority, which means we'd have some pre-development responsibilities to make the lot suitable for transfer for this project, which means we'd have to complete an ALTA survey, assist with the rezoning and re-subdivision of the property. We've also agreed to assist in the marketing study, which was executed a couple months ago. And we'd also look at some expenses related to geotech on the property to determine if the soils are suitable for the development that they're looking to use that property for. This would not be a transfer of the property, but a long-term lease of the property for, 99 years is what we're typically talking about. It would also, as a limited partner, once they complete their responsibilities to their investors in 15 years, the Housing Authority would have potentially the right of first refusal for the acquisition of the property. We would also have some control based on leasing the property in terms of how we negotiate the ground lease and some income for the Housing Authority. The property is a workforce housing project. 80 to 120% is what they have to achieve in terms of rent restrictions and income. The property would be rezoned as residential high density in order to conform with the development proposal. It would also provide for, which is a key point for this development, it's a $30 million development, and it would provide for tax abatements for sales and use tax and for property tax on the site for a minimum of 15 years. We, as the Housing Authority, would support as a fiscal agent, we would support a grant that has currently been applied for, if it's awarded, for $1.9 million for basic development costs, infrastructure costs primarily, and it would be matched with another grant that we received from HUD for the purpose of supporting affordable housing. If within this letter of intent, if WHA does not begin construction within 3 years, the agreement is essentially canceled at that point. That's about the extent of the key terms within the proposal.
We did have an extensive discussion on this matter earlier, and the Craig Housing Authority did pass the approval of the letter of intent between the two entities. So with that being said, if there's no further questions for Peter, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the letter of intent between the Woodbury Housing Authority, LLC, and the Craig Housing Authority and the City of Craig, which was previously signed on December 13th, 2023.
Second.
Councilmember Looper made the motion to approve the letter of intent. Councilman James seconded. Any further discussion on said motion?
No, in the CHA meeting, I had some concerns with the leasing option, but it was explained to me with a little bit of the control, so so thank you for explaining that to me. And then I had just some concern on the capacity of the staff. It sounds like all that development process is going to be,
That should really be minimal in terms of capacity issues.
those were cleared up.
Yep.
So thank you.
And we had discussion and about the special taxing districts would be exempt from taxation on this property. It's currently public property, but the improvements, once they are made, $30 million of improvement, would still be exempt for 15 years of taxation from all the taxing entities, from the school to fire district, hospital, college. I'm not sure if they understand that, so I guess this is their opportunity to approach council after this with any concerns or questions they may have. So with that being public information now on this project, any further discussion? Andrew, you didn't get to be a lot of the discussion, but we're going to be asking you to vote anyway, so.
I'll get caught up.
You got it? Okay. So, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex, for attending tonight.
Item F, discussion and.
Everybody.
Oh. See you, Alex. Item F, discussion and approval of matching funds in amount of $8,000 on behalf of the Northwest Colorado Development Council Office of Just Transition grant application through the Department of Local Affairs for additional staff capacity. Shannon.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item is basically a continuation of a grant that we had applied for back in 2021. So we had formed the Northwest Colorado Development Council, the NWCDC as it's called, essentially in the beginning to help as the conduit organization, regional organization, where our regional entities could go in if they had OJT application funds. Basically, we have to get 60% approval from our regional organizations before it can go to OJT to get approval from them. So this organization was formed initially as that regional entity to approve kind of the OJT funds as they work their way up through the process. As the organization evolved, we realized that we needed to reach out and hire basically a third-party entity to help us with regional economic development and project development efforts. So we put out an RFP and hired a firm called Upsize Marketing, which basically provided to us a contract project manager and administrative assistant to help with, again, regional economic development projects and things like that. The terms of that contract expired after 2 years, so we had a ready grant to pay for those services up until the end of 2023. So essentially, we're in limbo right now with that grant. We did apply for another grant through the Office of Just Transition to continue those services for an additional 2 years. And as part of that grant process, we are required to submit a match. If you'll look on page 2 of the memo, it breaks down each of the regional entities and the amount of match that they're going to be contributing as well. We did contribute $8,000 for the first Ready grant. So basically, they're asking for the same matching structure for this OJT grant to continue those services. And those amounts were determined, I believe, off of each entity's general fund budget. So that's kind of where you'll see them staggered out for each. But we've really seen the program manager and administrative assistant that we've hired provide exceptional value for our region and some of the projects and the grants that we've been able to attain for our region. So we're essentially asking that we continue these services with upsized marketing, but just through another grant entity, which again, we have to put up a match. So that's what I'm asking for this evening, basically just the approval of the $8,000 match for our portion to move forward with the OJT grant for staff capacity for the NWCDC. And happy to answer any questions.
So this was not in our budget package for this year?
That's correct, Mayor. This actually, we did not get notification that this was awarded until the end of December of last year. So we were kind of in limbo as to whether we were going to get awarded or not. So it was not included in the 2024 budget.
So you allocate this, Bruce, or
Economic development.
Come out of Shannon's budget.
Yeah,
out of your Shannon's budget?
out of my pocket. Yeah.
Okay. That's even better yet. Okay.
Well, thank you for keeping up with it. It's confusing to me. They want to give us money,
But
but then they want to take our,
take charge.
And I know it's a small amount compared to, I just get confused.
A lot,
It's complicated.
a lot of the grant programs, they want you to have skin in the game. So that's their way of, to get 430,000 into the NWCDC, we all have to contribute somewhat.
Are they just Office of Just Transition grants?
So this particular one, the second round, is an OJT grant. The first one was a Ready grant, but it's actually, I believe it's a DOLA grant through OJT. So yes, that's where it gets kind of complicated. There's different entities that are within that structure, if you will.
So it's OJT funds, but it's separate from all the buckets that we're looking at?
I believe this is actually going to come from the formula bucket, so it'll be the shared bucket. Right, not the Moffett County or the Craig bucket.
Okay, any further questions? Seems relatively simple to me that to get money, we're going to budget this, and we've had it in years in the past, so. Motion to approve the $8,000.
So moved.
Okay, Councilmember Duran first,
Second.
Councilman James second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Item G, discussion regarding the request from the Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW, to increase the lease payment from $5,000 to $12,000 annually. Ryan, you give us some background, because we have a couple new council members and weren't part of the original, and we'll have Heather kind of give us some fill-in as well.
You bet.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council. For the last several years, the city of Craig has leased South City Park, BFW Park there, through a lease agreement. It's typically a 10-year lease, and the city of Craig pays $5,000 annually to cover the cost of their city utilities, trash, sewer, and water for their building. And if there's a difference, as the lease states, the city would be, it would pay the difference there. This year, the VFW came to the city of Craig to discuss an increase in the lease agreement. In the packet, there's a breakout of expenses, O&M, capital improvements over the course of the last couple of years, park irrigation, and annual rent that we pay to the VFW. Along with that, in your packet, you'll see a 4-year comparison of city utility cost for the VFW as well.
These are city utilities.
Correct. Yep. Questions so far?
What was the large spike in 2023 since the rates haven't increased? I know that they've increased, but they haven't increased to like to the 10 and the 15% that were just, is it more water? Did you water more?
And the
The
irrigation.
spike of 2023 versus 2022 was $1,000.
Derek, where is that at? Sorry.
Between the total sewer and water in 2022 was 1,292.05, in 2023 it's 2,294.
It was real minimal
Yeah.
from 20 to
Yeah.
21, from 21 to 22, but then 22 to 23 was a
Big.
big jump.
I presume that, that's the city utility cost. I presume they have a tenant in there, a restaurant, things like that, taking more.
Thank you.
Yep.
As I mentioned earlier, we had a meeting, Heather and Ryan and Peter, myself, and Council Member Looper. You want to give her your report of the discussion we had?
Well, what they're coming from, our view was that we're taking care of this and basically leasing the lease that we're paying them, and they have minimal costs, and we cover our costs. Their view is that they looked at the lease as a way to cover their electric and gas, and it has in previous years. It hasn't for the last two. So the 12,000 was just a number they came up with. As we talked to them, what it came down to is I asked, and Chris asked, can we see what your utilities have been? So we can go back over the last 2 years, taking out what the tenant, their use is, and come back to us to say, okay, what is your gas and electric running you now versus what it was before? As far as I know, we haven't heard anything back from them on those bills and what it was. They're basically trying to scramble to stay alive. They've got a whole new board, younger people coming in trying to do it. I don't know. We were just trying to come up with various ways to make it work without changing the lease. Of helping them for a year, helping them for 2 years. I don't know. It's just.
Heather, would you recap the letter we received from the VFW and status of our lease?
Sure. So, and I know, kind of addressing Ms. Heiser's comments, that it was too little too late in public comment. My understanding is there were some initial meetings that involved Ryan and Peter, where the VFW had approached the city and had asked for the $12,000 prior to my involvement and prior to the expiration of the lease. My understanding at that point is the VFW's stance was they would accept no less than $12,000. I became involved right before the lease was set to renew, and we had a discussion about how this lease would be self-executing if the city opted to go down that road. The only provision that we're bound by is obviously we could have a written agreement between the VFW and the city again, or we have the ability to remain in possession of the park as long as we continue to carry out the terms and covenant of the lease, and then the lease would auto-renew for another 10 years. My understanding is that after we had the council meeting where the council approved to continue in that lease, we received a notification from the VFW, I believe it was Mr. Larson, indicating that they were voiding the lease, I think is what his terminology was. I responded back to Mr. Larson, and I forwarded that email to all council at the time, indicating and reiterating to him that he didn't have the ability to void the lease, and the city's position is that we would continue to be in that lease for the next 10 years under the same terms and conditions as originally signed. And that led then to the meeting that we had, Mayor and Council Member Looper. So today, for purposes of the agenda item, this is, in my opinion, not a negotiation. Council is entertaining increasing the agreed upon rent, but this certainly is not a negotiation where, we're waiting to see if there would be an approval. The lease is already in full force and effect.
So Heather, since the lease is in full force effect, since we approved it in July, if it was to be voted on to increase to 12,000, because that's the number on the table, we would have to amend the lease and do all
Correct.
that in,
We would amend the provision of the lease just having to do with the annual rent. But again, this is not something where if council says no, that the lease is void. We are operating right
lease is
now.
still in term.
Correct.
So, question, if they came back and said, okay, we need another 1,000 or 2,000, is there a way that, yes, the lease is in effect, that for a year, 2 years, whatever, we can go say, okay, we're willing to pay you 2,000 more above that, or 1,000 more of that? Is that possible for us to do, or is that not possible for us to do?
I think it's possible, but I wouldn't recommend doing it through the lease.
Right, this would be a separate agreement from the lease, is what I'm talking about.
Or asking, as we discussed in the meeting, for some type of donation, right?
Yeah,
Through either, directly through the city or through a different form.
okay.
Now, I know I'll need to abstain from the vote itself, but I have a comment. Just as a member of the VFW, I don't know if I need to step down to make that from the other stand here. This is the first time I've heard of a 12,000 increase. I actually shot Jesse a message. He said they're asking for 5 to 7. Like I said, this is the first time I've heard 12. And the reasoning for that was that the prices over the last 10 years are exorbitantly higher, not just for utilities, but for resources that we need to help other veterans. And, as those prices keep going up, keeping up and helping those people is getting harder and harder, especially as rates increase across the board. The lease was originally written in 2013. It's been 10 years, no increase. They're just trying to keep up. Everybody there's a volunteer, so.
And I apologize for not making the meeting. But is it determined that the current tenant of the restaurant, is he paying rent to offset some of these
I
costs?
think Ryan has more information than I do on that.
I don't
Because it's a
have that.
private business.
They had said at the meeting that, yeah, he was paying rent to them, and that was offsetting some of the utility costs, and they had separated that out. Their treasurer had said that he had a way to separate that out and could show us, even over and above that tenant being in there, this is what their costs were. Again, I haven't heard or seen since that meeting, but that's what they were saying, their treasurer was had a report that he could come and bring to council and show us.
So I have a question, and maybe I'm just not understanding this correctly. So the existing lease of $5,000 annually that is in place now, if those expenditures of just utilities were to exceed that amount, then they could come and ask for additional?
City utility.
Okay,
Yep.
only
City.
city
Only
utilities.
city.
Yes.
Okay, so I was
Yeah.
like, well,
Yeah,
then why
and
didn't
they
they
were-
come and ask for additional funds?
Right, because as Rita said, that they had viewed, at least my impression, was that they had viewed that 5,000, yes, to cover city, but for a number of years, it also covered their gas and electric.
Right.
So it did both, and now their gas and electric, particularly the last 2 years, has far exceeded the 5,000. So that's one of the arguments or the discussions that they had given.
But based on information they provided you up to this point, the water and sewer costs or
Are covered.
city-related costs are still covered.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's that breakout or that comparison 20 through, 23.
So Heather, the issue on the table here is is to increase it to 12,000 or not, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Could, again, I know I need to abstain from the vote, but I would ask that maybe table this until we can get one of them here at a council meeting to address any of these.
We've had the
Yeah.
workshop.
Well, I mean, from formally it seems like there's a lot of questions.
Information.
Well, and
I don't
that's-
think they even know.
They probably don't, but my question is, I think the lease is the lease and it's in force. That's not the question.
Yeah.
I mean, whether they want 12,000 on the lease, it's 5,000 and that's the way it goes. It's the question of, are we willing as a donation or some other venue to give them more over and above the 5,000 to help them out because they're trying to survive, basically.
Right.
That's,
Well, but Randy, I think they would like to see the lease modified to reflect that higher number locked in on an annual
Okay.
basis.
Yeah.
That was my understanding in the meeting with them, is,
That's correct.
right.
And I don't know if we should have a motion to discuss, but my point is, and I support, obviously, the VFW veterans, you know, it's a beautiful park. You guys do a great job with it. I think we would all agree that it's an asset to the community with us managing the property. Whether it's a lease rent increase or a donation, my issue is since 2019, we are donating 28,000 a year, if you do the math. That's a pretty good donation. And I think with business being business and the lease being the lease, we need to abide by the lease and continue to do capital projects at that park, which you will. Continue to keep it maintained to a high level of standard, which I believe you will, for all the community to utilize it. You know, I don't see what, if we agree to that, which we have, the last 10 years have proven that.
You know,
You know, that it's, you do, the math is crazy. It's crazier than I thought, once you provided these numbers.
Right.
You know, it's $33,000 a year since 2019.
Yeah.
Basically in kind, or your city's paying to subcontractors, you know? So I just think, I have a hard time with it, and it's not because I don't support the VFW. It's just, we've already contributed above the $5,000. We've contributed above the $12,000 that they're requesting. And in the past, we've had conversations with even the chamber, for example, that, hey, yeah, that's our building. We pay for improvements to the rooftop units and whatever. And so we agreed not to increase or, you know, meet their request. And so I just think it's hard for me to say yes to this one and no to those other 6. Just
Right.
because they're upset with how the lease was structured that I assume they had an attorney look at 10 years ago. But we don't know, so.
So it's in, when the ground was transferred to the VFW, it's in the agreement that that has to be maintained by them or whatever for the purpose of a park and
Right.
something of that nature, so,
That's correct.
okay. Well, actually, the item on the agenda is discussion increasing the lease from 5 to 12,000. So what's the council's pleasure?
I don't see increasing the lease. I think it's two separate items, two separate discussions, and the lease is the lease.
Okay?
We don't need a motion.
Then we don't,
Nope.
it just
Well,
dies.
it dies for a lack of a motion. So the lease will stand at 5,000. So does council have a preferred action in the future for funding, or how do you want to handle this?
I think they could request
Right,
to our, what
Okay.
is it called?
HRC.
HRC.
Okay? And we discussed that night with them, or that afternoon. They could go to HRC and some of the other organizations and look for funding, and that's why HRC was created. So council wouldn't deal with every particular request. All right, so item G died for a lack of a motion, for lack of action. Moving on to 8H, award of a bid for 2024 chemicals for the Water Wastewater Department. Carl, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. So every year we solicit proposals from chemical suppliers for the chemical bids needed for water and wastewater treatment. We followed all of our procurement procedures. The bid was advertised and published, and also we take a little extra effort. We emailed 19 of the chemical companies that have done business with us before to help solicit bids. We use a lot of different chemicals, and it's always been handled, these suppliers can usually only supply a handful of chemicals of each, of the bid, so it's always a difficult thing to present because we have so many different awards. So I've summed that up in a memo. It is also in tabular form. In all cases, we took the lowest bid. One that needs clarification is on sodium hypochlorite. We had bulk and drums. We have never actually had to purchase bulk hypochlorite, so we went with the bid from Treatment Technology, which was lower.
Carl, can you check your microphone? I'm getting text that nobody can hear you. Sorry.
Oh, sorry about that. So we
No, lights are red.
Now it's on.
Okay, I apologize for that. I thought my mic was on. Now, you want me to start over? I can.
No,
Okay.
just your recommendation at the end, yeah.
So anyway, the recommendations, we had, one that I want to clarify, and that's on sodium hypochlorite. The sodium hypochlorite, the bulk hypochlorite was cheaper from Thatcher Company, but we have not needed the bulk hypochlorite in the time I've worked for the city, and it's only a contingency if our on-site generation failed. So it makes sense to award the lower drum price to Treatment Technology. So there's a summary in the memorandum. It's just short and sweet of where things are going, and we had one other item that we did not receive a bid on, and it's a coagulant aid, and we have not received a bid on that in several years. So all these chemicals do have to be approved by CDPHE for use in our treatment process. So we have some very specific requirements.
Cool. Any questions for Carl? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to,
I'll make a motion to award of the bid for 2024 chemicals for the Water and Wastewater Department per the recommendation.
Second.
Councilmember Duran made a motion to approve Carl's recommendation to award the chemical bid, second by Councilmember Jackson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Thank you, Carl. Okay, approval of a proclamation proclaiming January 2024 as General Aviation Month. Let me get to it. Proclamation. General Aviation Appreciation Month, whereas Craig in the state of Colorado has a significant interest in the continual vitality of general aviation, aircraft manufacturing, aviation education institutions, and aviation organizations and community airports, and whereas the general aviation and the Craig Moffett Airport have a significant economic impact on the city of Craig, and whereas the 2020 Colorado Aviation Economic Impact Study found that airports in the state supported annual business revenues of $48.6 billion, more than 345,000 jobs, and a payroll of $16.2 billion. Whereas the FAA, the state, is home to 75 repair stations, 14 FAA-approved pilot schools, almost 6,700 student pilots, and over 4,400 flight instructors. Whereas. So you can continue those last two paragraphs. Now, therefore, I, Chris Nichols, Mayor of the City of Craig, do hereby proclaim January 2024 as General Aviation Appreciation Month. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Looper, seconded by Councilmember Duran, to approve to proclamation as January as General Aviation Month. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And it passes. Discussions none. Public comment number 2. Vicky? Please come forward.
I would like to say one more thing about the VFW. I know when John Fox was in there, downstairs, Chef John, he paid a reasonable rent, but he also paid utilities for the entire building. So I just think you should know that. I don't know what HR Foods, what agreement they have, but I know John and the guy before him, that was the agreement. So, yes, they need money, but I need to say what for and why they don't have it. And the other thing is, I'm glad to have a full council again. And I'll remind everybody again, you are the representatives for Craig and the people. And I don't expect any of you to agree with me all the time. I do, however, expect all of you to be honest all of the time, whether you agree or not. I would rather hear the ugly truth than a pretty lie. So, and while I don't hold a grudge, I also don't forget. And I also have a big mouth, and I will tell everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Any further public comment? Hearing none. Item 11, staff report. Chief Cochran.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You have the usual packet in front of you. I think I told you in December's meeting that we would be changing that up with January's report. Kind of misleading. That report doesn't come out till February. So this will be the last time you see this format of the report. Only thing significant as we closed out the year is a lot of traffic, and I think you all know that that's due to us having a full staff currently. So we're able to focus in some of those areas that we've needed. With the traffic stats, I will tell you that the state announced that they are putting back into place some grant funding for overtime DUIs, enforcement, and the Click It or Ticket campaign that we intend on applying for this year. So hopefully we can increase those numbers throughout the year, because we had a pretty significant increase over this past year. Other than that, we have a lot of the calls on the index crimes that were down for the year overall. The area that I'll point to is down with investigative activities. You can see that those numbers went huge this year. One of the factors there being is that also our investigative division is now full staff. We have 2 investigators, a sergeant that investigates in there, as well as we hired the support services lieutenant that heads that division. So we're able to focus on cases that we've not been able to focus on in quite a while. So that was huge benefit to us there. Short of that, you have the call counts. I don't think anything in the call counts has changed much. One of those things that we always saw a pretty good number of was in the VIN inspections, even they were kind of down for the month of December this year. The weather's changed. Not a lot of people bringing in with new cars or trailers. December was, although the call volume was down, was still a busy month. We had some very difficult times at the police department. Know that you're all aware of that. We lost one of our records technicians to an illness that was kind of sudden. She will be definitely missed. We did, with the new budget, get a position for a new police officer. So the intent with that is that with one additional officer going to the school for a school resource officer, we would backfill that position on patrol. We're going to start that process real soon and hope that we get some certified candidates. Without the certified candidates, we unfortunately can't get anybody in the academy until July. So that would put us at about this time next year before they're even out on the road and functioning. We also had quite a few things go on, events that we get to see around the holiday season that a lot of the officers attend. We had an excellent time with Shop with a Cop. If any of you got to come to Walmart, that was an amazing morning. Ironically, it was also the most that I think we've served in a year, and that was 25 children that benefited from that day. Sheriff Hume does an amazing job getting that organized, and we appreciate all the donations that come in for that totally funds the event. We always got great support from our local air ambulance, who always flies Santa in every morning for the event every December, and huge turnout. It was a great success. Short of that, I don't have anything else to report unless you have some questions.
Yes, Chief, I happened just to walk in Walmart right in the middle of that Shop with a Cop, and it was quite the event, and I mean, flurry of people and people flying everywhere. So that was pretty cool. And Casey was telling me that was the biggest year you've had in need. So that's not good, but at least you're able to fill it. So
It was an amazing experience. There's many things we do throughout the year that are great to be a part of, but that's one that's very special.
And just so people know that for 2023, speeding citations were up 118%. So,
yes, sir.
You know, and we get a lot of complaints from time to time about people flying down certain city streets, and it's quite evident here on that increase. So, and thanks for taking care of some of that. So.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for the chief?
School resource officer, are they full-time now, or are they going to be full-time at the school soon?
So we have one currently in place that's what he does.
That's what he does, at all and he goes from all the schools?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have a second one that back last year we had interviews that involved the school board, school officials. We picked a second candidate, but due to the timing for their schools, the SRO can't just go into a school. They have to go to a basic SRO school. They have to go to DARE school. And most of those are conducted in the summer. We did, however, get our guy that will be taking that position in a class that starts the last week of this month. So we still will not be able to get him through the DARE instructor school until about summertime, but he should be in the school and in place by the start of next year.
So he's doing training now and still doing patrol work?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We also, little shout out there, Kelsey Morford, our detective, and Officer Junior Gonzalez. Their son was born January the 1st. Healthy baby boy and doing great.
Congratulations. Yeah. Any other questions, comments for the chief?
The new SRO, is it a new hire, or is it someone that
No,
kinda
we,
stepped
we
up?
actually sent him to the academy, and he had expressed an interest in it. It's Sambu,
Yeah.
Cool.
and he will do excellent.
Well, tell him thank you for stepping up for that.
Thank you.
Okay, no further questions. We'll move on to 11B. Update from Gail Zimmerman, Municipal Court Administrator. Good evening, Gail. We're not used to seeing you here.
You need a
so-
chair at the table.
Okay. First, my report was based off of mostly the 5-year comparisons, so I just updated it, and the red is comparisons to the 2-year. So this year has been a record year in the municipal court. You'll have a comparison for the last 10 years. 533 cases were filed in 2023, which is a 64% increase in the last 10 years. Several cases have 2 or more charges on a single ticket. There's 674 charges that were written on those tickets, which is a 69% increase in the total amount of charges. 100 tickets were paid outside of court, which is pretty typical. It just means people came in and paid a penalty assessment and didn't have to go to court. And I anticipate that 2024, that option with online to pay those tickets, that number will probably increase. 76% increase in cases remaining open at the end of the year, with a total of 510. Overall, court activity increased 95%. Court activity includes first appearances, which is up 92% just in the first appearances. The other court activity includes trials and other matters such as sentence reviews, case reviews, probation, revocation hearings, advisements, arraignments, motions, show cause, and bond hearings. All of the total increase of 97%. In 2023 was a record year for court revenue. That was collected just shy of $109,000, which is a 134% increase over the past 9 years. I give a lot of credit to the police department for that, for issuing more citations and writing things into city versus the county, wherever they can do that. And we've increased a lot of tickets for driving without a license and registration, so that has been a pretty big substantial revenue and ticket increase. And now that they're full staff, I imagine that's going to be even more so. I also give credit to Heather Cannon, City Attorney, for being proactive with assessing fines to deter those repeat offenders. PD is tasked with cleaning up some properties around town and to do abatements. And they obviously incur expenses to do that. And through court, when somebody is cited into court for an abated property, we can collect or assess some fines and costs for restitution. So this year, restitution on abatements was about $5,000. That will go back into PD's line item to help offset some of those abatement costs. And anytime there's a traffic accident or a theft, a notice gets sent to the victims. They have the opportunity to seek restitution. So just shy of $2,800 was collected this year for victims. We have seen a big increase in Spanish-speaking defendants. So I now coordinate with an interpreter to assist us in court hearings once a month. The officers usually try to write those tickets for the first Wednesday of the month, and then we consolidate them, and the interpreter, she charges a minimum amount, so it's better for the city to try to get as many of the defendants who speak Spanish in at one time and get them taken care of, and it helps them too. So that's been a big move with the court, and I've been trying to change some of my forms and stuff for communication and getting that translated into Spanish. And the state made some changes with the Department of Motor Vehicles, which has really tied the municipal court's hands as far as defaults go. And a default is when a defendant fails to appear on a traffic citation. We usually give them a second notice to give them a courtesy to, maybe they forgot and they'll come next time. But if they fail on the second time, a default used to be sent into DMV. They could put a hold on the person's license, or they would have to pay all the outstanding fines and costs before they could renew their license. The state now has changed that, and DMV is not allowed to do that anymore. So it has kind of put a hit on municipal courts, because that really impacted us in being able to collect those fines and costs on defaults. And so my goal is to get those turned over to a collection agency as soon as possible, and to try to get some of that money recuperated. This year in the 24 budget, City Council approved me being able to upgrade my court software, which I found this morning is very vital as I was preparing a very big docket for tomorrow, and my court system does not have a calendar for 2024. Therefore, I have no docket for 2024. So they're working on that to get me sidelined with something until that implementation can take place, hopefully early this spring. And we'll be posting a position for a part-time position in the court that will mostly be doing probation and some other duties. Currently, I have 131 cases being tracked for compliance of payments, classes, community service, dog evaluations, and anything that the judge has ordered them to do. There are currently 168 cases involving probation and deferred sentences. So that's kind of quick sum of what's been going on. And we have court on Wednesdays at 8:30 in the morning. So if any of you are, wanting to kill some time and check out what we do in court, feel free to stop by. And anybody have any questions?
Gail, thank you, and obviously it's good work. The assistant part-time position is something that you would need based on the volume and the efficiency. The only thing I would like to emphasize is citations are not, the money is only way the consequence, but we issue them for safety. And it's not a revenue generator on a $27 million city general fund budget. $109,000 is not a significant source of revenue. So that's not the reason we're doing it. They're issued for, safety, law and order, and fines you pay for breaking the law. So.
And I have a question, you probably don't know, but why the heck would the state change that law? I mean, in a town like us, it's one thing, but in like city of Denver, larger cities, that's insane.
Yeah, it's been pretty detrimental to all the courts across the state, and I think is they don't want somebody to be penalized for, I don't know, really don't know.
And don't
other
issue
than-
the ticket. I mean, I,
Yeah, yeah.
it's just nuts. But
Well, I agree with that, but, you know,
Yeah.
you look at so many, what the state is doing now, and you have to scratch your head, so. Any other questions? Kale, thank you, it's very informative.
Sure.
It's the first time I've heard this, so, over our tenure, so. Thank you, Peter and Heather, for making that, so. Any closing remarks?
are we going to go over committees in this meeting? Or we
No,
do that later?
next ones.
Next Wednesday. Okay.
Yeah, we have a lot on the agenda, and we needed to seat our council member first, so
Perfect.
we will try to do that next meeting. You know what?
Was there a discussion we needed to have on the shelter fees?
On what?
The shelter fees, I see that on here, but it's not on the agenda. Okay, was it? I didn't know if we covered that part.
So they're there, no, do you have any questions in general, or?
No.
Okay. All right, no other items. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.